Working is presented by Maya Strategy Group, a leading market research and strategy consulting firm, helping clients in the pet care and animal health industries navigate strategic challenges for almost 2 decades. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pet Working. I'm Peter Kenseth, Vice President and Partner at Maya Strategy Group, and here today to talk about a pretty unique approach to funding both adoptions and veterinary care within the animal health industry. I am joined by Daryl Hatton, the CEO of Connection Point. Connection Point is a crowdfunding platform, the premier platform for collaborative commerce, and it has 4 distinct brands underneath it: Fundraiser, Crowdfunder, CocoPay, and what we're going to be discussing the most today, PetFunder. PetFunder is a pet-specific crowdfunding platform, has 3 distinct components: a one-to-one crowdfunding, the ability to integrate with shelters, and the ability to integrate with veterinary clinics. So I'm excited to talk about all the different applications and how this could potentially help address some critical issues within pet care and animal health. And really excited to have Daryl on today. Daryl, thanks so much for joining us on Pet Working.
Peter, I'm excited. This is going to be a good chat.
Good. Well, Daryl, maybe just start, give us a little bit of background, how long you've been with Connection Point, the inspiration for launching PetFunder. Obviously, we know pet parents not being able to afford care and shelters not having funds to place animals in their forever homes are 2 critical issues facing, the industry. When did you get hit with the idea to launch PetFunder as a brand? And tell us a little bit about the backstory and how it's gone.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. So, we confuse everybody when we talk about Connection Point. But Connection Point is the technology platform that we have underneath all of our different brands. And what I started out to do, this is way back in 2009, started off to be a platform for doing collaborative funding, people helping work together to pay for projects. And so the first version of our platform, we ended up having a brand called Fundraiser, Fundraiser. And it competes with GoFundMe and the professional version of GoFundMe called Classy. And so it was a fund anything, fund everything kind of platform. And the reason I started there was I was coach of a lacrosse team, and I was needing to raise money for my son's lacrosse team. So I tried to scratch my own itch by creating a platform that I could use Facebook to get the message out about the funding that we needed and being shared. My players were all on Facebook at the time, and I was trying to email them to come to practice, and nobody was showing up. I started a Facebook group and posted the practices there. Everybody showed up, and I went, I wonder if I can get them to pay for it like this. And so we created a fundraiser to collect the fees and to do some donation processing. The fees part didn't work at all, but the donation processing took off. And so over time, Fundraiser became one of the platforms that was really well known for this kind of all sorts of different kinds of funding. But a couple of years back, we looked at it and said, that's not a great model. It's not a great model because there's all sorts of confusion when somebody would come to the fundraiser platform and they go, well, I'm trying to raise money for my pet. Is that what this is about? Or I'm trying to raise money for my healthcare. Is that what this is about? Or for my charity? Is that what this is about? Or for my creative project? Is that what this is about? So we decided to break the brands up and take the biggest groups of things that we're working on Fundraiser and make brands for themselves. So one of them is for the creator industry. People who are making a film, or they're going to make a graphic novel or a comic book, or they want to build a new product or, kind of a new supplement, something like that. We started a brand called Crowdfunder for that. Fundr, CR. Everybody says I don't have an E on my keyboard because all my brands have a missing E. And
that's the brand identity.
Pardon me? Yeah, brand identity. I'm the reverse E.E. Cummings or something like that. I don't know. But and then but one of the biggest categories on Fundraiser was for personal health care. And so if somebody's paying for personal health care, you have someone put up a campaign. I've got reactions on my Zoom, sorry. No. Don't recognize the gestures. Okay, because I talk with my hands. A little bit of Gaelic background. If you have a friend who's got a healthcare problem, they might raise money for that healthcare problem. But if you're giving them money, sometimes there's that little bit of, are they really going to use it to pay for their healthcare, or are they going to take off to Mexico and have a really good time? Which unfortunately happened a few times. So we started a brand called CocoPay, and CocoPay is a crowd financing platform where you run a crowdfunding campaign, but instead of the money going into your pocket of the patient, it goes into the healthcare clinic or the medical device provider. And in that way, there's some accountability for how the funding will be spent.
Right.
We took a look then at if I can, I'll just kind of finish the sequence and then we'll stop. And then we took a look at the next biggest group that was within fundraiser, and that was for pet care and animal care. And so we put a brand very specifically to do that called Pet Funder. Again, we're missing an E. And the point about that is to allow pet parents to raise money in the same kind of models you'd have with GoFundMe or with fundraiser. You can have the money flowing into your pocket. The pet parent, get help from friends and family to pay for their pet's surgery or something like that, and then they would give the money to the vet. But we borrowed from it the CocoPay model, and so a veterinary clinic or a shelter can have the same model where the funds go directly to them, even though others may have started the campaign. So they could start a campaign to take care of somebody. And that certainty that the funds will be used that way, really, really helpful in this kind of an industry when you'd like to kind of help, but is this story about this dog that's been hit by the car really true? And you only learned about it from a friend of a friend. So it's not like you've got a direct connection to the pet parent. This is a way that you can help make the system safer, help the vet out in getting collection on the funds that they need for that animal who is in distress, but the parent doesn't have enough money right now. And, it's just many, many, many benefits across the industry.
Yeah, no, I think, it's such a, simple but brilliant model, because I think you're right. I think a lot of people, look at, a animal in need, a pet, needing funds to get adopted, a shelter that, needs money to, pay for food, or, a pet that has been hit by a car and is in need of surgery and there's not money there to pay for it. But you're right, there is that hesitation to say, do I know exactly where my money's going at the end of the day? So I think being able to kind of link into the payments ecosystem of the veterinary clinic, of the shelter, really is what, sets apart Pet Funder from a GoFundMe, and it is pet specific. It raises a lot of interesting questions for me, because obviously on this show, we're huge advocates of pet insurance. It's one of the big reasons I started the podcast. And, pet insurance, I think for dogs is sitting, upper end estimates is around 4% of dogs in the U.S. are insured. I think the latest statistics I've seen from NAFIA, the North American Pet Health Industry Association, we had, 4%, the total number of pets insured was just shy of 5 million, and that's inclusive of dogs and cats. 80% of that 4.8 million were dogs, 19%, 20% were cats. So when we look at it and we think, there's less than 5 million pets insured in the United States, and their dogs and cats combined, there's over 100 million. There's at least 65 million dogs in the U.S. We're looking at a situation where 60 some odd million pet parents could potentially face a situation where their pet has a condition that they don't want to pay for, or can't afford to pay for.
Yeah. Maybe one of the things that would help is maybe I'll show you one. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's check on this one right now. And this was just because it's current. It's running. I asked my team this morning, who's got something fun that's running right now? And they came up with Sir Gusley. And Sir Gusley has a hernia. And so this is important but non-critical, meaning that he doesn't need it today, but he needs it soon. And so this is a really good example of something that you could crowdfund for in order to pay. It's a $4,500. It's kind of tiny to see, I know, but it's a $4,500 goal there. Over the last few days, they've raised $1,280. Pretty good start to the whole thing. And they're showing the animal. So the woman that's running this is sharing this out to her network. Carrie is sharing it out to her network, and friends and family are helping her make a payment towards this. Now, ideally, if she'd had insurance, this would be a no-brainer. It'd be done right now. But in the case where that hasn't happened, and she might be struggling to pay a $4,500 bill, I mean, statistics say that most families in North America can't afford an extra $1,000 in a month right now.
Right. I think statistics say most wouldn't be able to afford an unexpected $400 expense.
Yeah. And the inflation is making that worse right now.
Right.
So a campaign like that, if you can imagine, instead of paying into by Carrie, it could be by Carrie, but paying into, my local veterinary hospital. And
right.
And I can show you in a little bit some examples of that. But I just wanted to show you how easy it can be to get a campaign page up and running. The point is this doesn't have to take very much time. And most of the campaigns like this will fund in a few days. It's not like they have to go for weeks and weeks and weeks, because poor Guzzly here is not going to wait. He's got a hernia. He's in pain. He needs some help, but he doesn't have to go into the knife right now. So in a couple of days, these funds could get to the vet, and this adorable thing is going to end up being taken care of.
Yeah. And I mean, and you see the connection between Sir Guzzly and the baby and the family. And I think that, we just did an episode, with Mindy Dutka of Dogs I Meet. And, you talk about that, like she focuses on dog photography. She does it for brands. About 25% of her work is for shelters, and she donates her time there and, tries to help dogs find a home. But I think it's so easy for people to resonate when people can see their dog in that photo of Sir Guzzly and nuzzling the baby. I can see, it reminds me of the picture of my dog Peony, touching noses with my daughter when she was 2 years old. And, that's one of my favorite photos, and it's up in our house all the time. Like you said, hopefully, we can use this to generate some awareness of, the average, they've raised $1,280 for that campaign. And the average premium for dogs for pet health insurance in the U.S. last year was $640. And I think the target for that campaign was $4,500. So when we look at it, like paying an average of $600 plus a year for pet insurance, where that's going to be 90% covered, maybe 80% covered, depending on what you set your co-insurance limits and your deductibles at, versus having to stare down, I've got a $4,500 vet bill.
And I think $4,500 is incredibly reasonable. I expect that is a really sharp pencil price from the vet in order to get that done. It wouldn't be surprising to have that be a lot more money. So
I mean, yeah,
it's a good example. And
you walk into a vet and get some blood work and x-rays taken, and you're walking out with over $1,000 bill. And, like we talked about, for a lot of households, if that's an unexpected expense, that's not something that you're prepared to cover. And so I think it's great because, for a lot of pets, unless you got pet insurance when they're a puppy or when you first adopted them, because pet insurance is underwritten as P&C insurance, it does have the ability to exclude pre-existing conditions. And, I fully understand that. I think there's tweaks to the model that eventually hopefully can be made so that people can get pet insurance for their pets later in life. And, we can find some happy medium there. But in the meantime, having something like Pet Funder, I think it's a huge boon because, when you think about it, where I really see the applicability of this is for vets to be able to offer this to patients as, a potential option, right? Like, there are other models out there. There's care credit. There's, you know, but I think the thing with care credit is sure, you can apply, and if you have to have good enough credit to be able to be approved for it, and B, it's just like any other zero interest financing offer. If you miss a payment, all of a sudden that interest is compounding back on the total price. So you can, if you're
You can end up paying double if you're not careful.
Right. If you're not extremely diligent about it, you can get and not saying it's not a worthwhile option to consider, and it's good that it's there. But I think not everybody's going to have the credit for it, and B, even if they do, it can put pet parents in a sticky situation if they're not careful and diligent about making every payment on time.
Right. And that's it. Is if you can do it properly, it works really well. But if you struggle with that, then it works really badly. And that's the concern. Another key thing that's important here is even if you have insurance, there's a copay component that you have. And so if you got an $18,000 surgery or something like that on your pet, your copay on that at 20%, that's a lot of money, $3,800 or whatever. You can crowdfund for just that component. And so even though the vet may be processing the insurance claim, they still need to collect for that copay. And by using PetFunder, they could end up having that pet parent be able to fund that. And because they're only trying to collect on that small amount or smaller amount, they might be able to do the surgery in emergency way right now and then collect the copay over a slightly longer period of time. So that is one of the ways to kind of get that whole thing. It then makes it easier on the pet parent to come up with the funding to pay, as opposed to having to do that emergency. I've got to put in my $3,800 to get the $18,000 or whatever it is to go right now.
Well, in a lot of cases, pet insurance is still it's a reimbursement model. So on that $18,000 surgery, you are paying that up. You have to pay that bill and submit to your insurance for reimbursement, and maybe you can work that out with your vet, but like you said, this is useful for high copays. This is useful for maybe I don't have a credit card to cover the full amount of a high dollar surgery, and I'm waiting for reimbursement from my insurance company. And just, it being there as an option for vets to offer. Like, in the case of Sir Gusley, it's, the hernia is not going to end Sir Gusley's life tomorrow. But, I was looking up statistics in advance of our call, and spots.com, they had statistics that there are about 500,000 cases of financial or economic euthanasia each year. And those are cases where an animal is put down because they need treatment that their owner cannot provide. And they know it's going to eventually either be fatal for them or significantly impact the quality of life, to the point that the more humane thing to do is to put the animal down. But those are the cases that I think are so troubling for veterinarians. And when we look at the suicide crisis among veterinarians in this day and age, I always try to bring it up because I still think it's one of those things that a lot of people aren't aware. And I know it's not a very comfortable topic, but if we don't talk about it, we don't address the root causes.
We have to talk about these things. They will not go away unless we can bring some light to them. So I appreciate you doing that. It's really important.
Yeah. And so when we look at it, those cases of financial euthanasia are such a critical driver of the compassion fatigue that leads to these mental health crises, and veterinarians having the highest suicide rate of any profession after police officers, firefighters, and military, I think. If you look at the statistics, and I often make reference to this, the TED Talk that Dr. Melanie Bowden gave. And she cites these statistics that, I think male veterinarians are twice as likely, and female veterinarians are almost 4 times as likely, more likely than the general population to die by suicide. There were studies by Royal Canin that nearly 70% of veterinarians have had a colleague or peer die by suicide. We're seeing people leave the profession and stop practicing. We have a critical shortage of veterinarians. I think Mars released a study that by 2030, we're going to be facing a shortage of 41,000 veterinarians in the U.S. And if we don't take steps to alleviate the mental health burden that is contributing to this crisis of suicide in the profession and this crisis of people leaving the profession or not entering the profession, it's not going to work. So I think, giving vets that option to be able to say, okay, you may not have the funds, but do you want to try and crowdfund this? We have a relationship with Pet Funder. It will feed right into our clinic. We can see how much you get. I wonder too, I know it's probably tough, but the idea of sort of having an emergency fund and, vet clinics being able to get, have people contribute to a fund for cases where people come in with an emergency, where there is that decision of like, this pet needs this treatment now. And if they don't get it, it is a matter of life or death.
We're getting a lot of interest from vets in that part of it. We kind of use the word angel fund to describe this, but the idea that around a vet clinic, you've got a group of customers who've had some success in having their pet treated. That's why they go there. One of the things that you can do is, ask those members occasionally, would they contribute to the angel fund? And the angel fund is there to help a pet parent who is short on funds or needs to bridge the funds, because it could be because they have insurance, but they're not able to get paid right away, and the insurance company won't do the claim fast enough. So the vet needs the funds, and then the parent will be reimbursed. One of the ways to do that is to pay it out of the angel fund and then collect it back from the parent later. So they can run the story of their clinic, and the funds can come in and be managed either by the clinic themselves, or some of them have a 501c3 charity associated with them, and those funds can come into that charity and then are used that way. And the California Veterinary Medicine Association and the New York Veterinary Medicine Association are looking at doing this at a statewide level, about putting in an angel fund at that level using Pet Funder as technology. Both of those groups will offer to their members a special thing where they can get a special setup package from us, which we would normally have charged for. It's extra services to help get it up and running, so the vet doesn't have to do anywhere near, like almost anything in order to get going on this. They offer that for free as a membership benefit to all of those. So we're trying to make it really easy for a vet clinic to be able to run this. And we're very, very experienced in this technology, and it's worth talking about this part here. We've helped raise about $325 million for about 200,000 projects across all of our platform. But a whole bunch of those were for animal rescues. And one of the first that we'd had was this one. And I just want to show it to you briefly, because there's a couple of stories that come out of this that are kind of important, I think. One of them is I did my TED Talk on philanthropy as entertainment. And the idea that when we're giving, first off, we're biologically wired to take care of each other. This is how we got out of the wilderness and became a dominant species, is that we collaborated. We're not the strongest animal out there. The saber-toothed tigers and those kind of guys would take us down pretty easily one-on-one. But when we collaborated and took care of each other, that's when we started to thrive as a species. And so it triggers in us the emotional component that makes us feel good when we give, when we take care of something. And we know a lot of animal rescues use this really, really effectively. This is a group called Dachshund Rescue South Florida. We've been working with them since 2013. And you can see up there that they've run 690 campaigns and they processed 41,000 contributions. But The way they do it is they run one campaign at a time for a dog or an animal. And so they've had to run hundreds and hundreds of these campaigns in order to get this. And if we just scroll down, this is a profile page that they have on our site that just shows some of their activity. And you'll see that they do up a campaign for small amounts that they need to help these Dachshunds get surgery or get help in other ways. And they use our so here's a really important part of this story. The rescue posted Astrid's long journey of neglect. Astrid had been neglected, was brought in through surgery, and then what they did is they posted an update story with some photos of her as she's been through and healthy now compared to
And
what
now
it was before.
who's donated to that campaign can feel that connection and can see the output, of their donation dollars, as opposed to, I just donated. I like Dachshunds, so I donated to the rescue in general, and I know I'm helping at a high level, but now my contribution.
Exactly. When the people for this one, and I'm just going to open it up separately so you can see her campaign here. I'll just open a new window. When whomever donated to just this campaign gets an email with that update, you wouldn't want to get that email for every animal they're handling. They're handling hundreds or thousands of animals. But
Right.
This is the one I cared about Astrid. I gave to Astrid, and I get a report back from the campaign about what the results were. We pay for impact. We want to make a difference. This mechanism makes a huge difference in telling the story of the effect of the contribution. And for a vet to be able to show these stories that someone came into their clinic, the pet parent would tell the story about, look, here, because they're just sharing photos of happy, I got my puppy back. And, she's got a spot on her tummy where she's been shaved in the whole bed. But they tell that story. That is marketing for the vet into the community, that they're a trusted source. And it's also really helps inspire the people who are giving, going, I made a difference. I helped save Astrid's life. We have people, and so we call this model the micro projects model, where they, instead of doing one big project, they break it up into a whole bunch of tiny ones, sometimes as small as a couple $100. They need to get a new collar, they need to get shots, and they're going to give them a shampoo, and now they're ready for adoption. Some of them need a little bit more. But we this micro projects model, we learned from the most successful rescues that are out there. We had to make it hyper efficient so they could tell the story of one of these animals in like 2 minutes and get a campaign up and running and published. But a very interesting thing happened that we noticed afterwards, and this is worth talking about. And then we'll move on. But the thing that happened is that they had donors in the community that used to try and give them a fairly large amount of money over the year. Like they would give them a big check. But what they noticed is that those people were coming back and making small contributions on a whole bunch of animals. So instead of just giving to one, $2,000 check to the organization, they would take and make 100 $20 donations because they wanted to be associated and hear the stories of all the different animals. So that person is, instead of going, I help Dachshunds, they get their inbox filled with, here's the 200 animals you've helped save this year.
Right.
And that level of repeatness is really, really important.
Yeah. No, I think for a lot of people, maybe there's a convenience factor for some people being able to, write a large check and feel good. And any type of philanthropy is good philanthropy. I'm not going to say bad, right? But I do think for a lot of people, like you said, there is that entertainment component to it, or that emotional connection of being able to sponsor or help a specific animal, right? I think, there's nothing wrong with, determining that the type of philanthropy and help that you like to give is more on a one-to-one level than a one-to-many level. And so I think, that's awesome. I wanted to ask Daryl, you mentioned, with the New York and California veterinary medical associations and offering, the platform as a benefit and thinking about, setting up a statewide angel fund. You mentioned, that they're waiving the fees for veterinary clinics to adopt the platform. Can you talk a little bit about, if I am a vet clinic, what is it? And I'm not in New York or California, what am I looking at to bring Pet Funder into my practice? If I'm a shelter, what am I looking, what are the costs to bring this in, and what kind of, returns are you, obviously you just outlined many success stories, but what are the costs for me to bring this in and offer it as a component of my practice?
This is one of the things that takes a while usually for everybody to get their head around. We give away the platform for free. We don't charge anybody to set a fee, a management fee per campaign, per user, any of that kind of stuff. We will literally give it away for free. The fees that we're talking about is we have some services to help them set it up if they want, so that their clinic doesn't have to go in and just do some of the mechanical things of setting it up, like putting in their logo, putting in their story about their clinic and things like that. Those are the fees for that. We're trying to do something to accelerate it for vets, where we'll do some of the work to help them set up. But the platform is completely self-service. So a vet can go to Pet Funder, click on the button for veterinarian, or click on the button for animal rescue or for personal, and you can be up and running with your organization and a campaign in like minutes. It doesn't take very long to get on board at all. But there's some steps to it that we can even make simpler. And we're trying to make it incredibly simple. The way we make money is that we can either charge a fee and ask the fee to be recovered by the donor. So when you make this payment, we say, hey, can you pay the payment processing fee to Stripe or to PayPal, and a fee to us to help make this platform available, including our technical support and our guidance and all the things we do. We coach actually the pet parents on how to tell their campaign story. The vet doesn't even have to do that. They literally turn them over. We tell them everything they need to know to make a successful campaign. But we either do this fee recovery model or we do a tipping model. In the tipping model, they pay the regular Stripe or PayPal fees that they would pay normally on a credit card transaction. And we just ask the donor if they'll give us an optional tip to help keep it free for the clinic. So it doesn't have to, like, financially, it has almost zero impact on the organization. And the groups that are doing the fee recovery, the reason we offer that is it actually works even better than the free model. Like the fee recovery is cheaper than free. Your credit card processing costs are normally about 3%.
Right.
But if we charge a 5% fee if we're using that fee recovery model. But we ask the donors to cover those fees. And over 90% of them, in a lot of cases, like ranges kind of 85 to about 94, will cover those fees, which means the cost to the clinic or the cost to the pet parent or others is around less than 1%. So you take the 3% you pay for credit cards and add our fee on top of it, ask the donors to cover it all, and it becomes almost literally free to run a campaign like this. All the power of our platform to run all those different campaigns, to tell the story on social media, to share it out, etc., you get for free.
Sure.
And everybody goes, this is too good to be true, but we've been here since 2009.
No,
I mean,
it's funny hearing you talk about this, because I in addition to our pet care and animal health practice at I also do our fintech practice, and so we've done a good amount of work in payment processing. So I hear you mentioned Stripe and PayPal. Are you kind of using the marketplace model there, where
and just for everybody to know what that means, marketplace model means we never touch the money. The money goes directly from the pet parent or the donor to the clinic, not to us, because I don't ever want to touch your money. I want to make sure I can just facilitate the transfer of it, because then there's no risk that anybody on my team would ever be able to try and steal it.
Right. And it's the payment facilitation model. Exactly. Right. So you're operating as a PayFac using Stripe and PayPal. Do you use one more often than the other, or?
We tend to recommend everybody uses both, actually. And the crazy thing about that is that some people love PayPal and some people hate PayPal. PayPal is got great things. And full disclosure, I'm a director on the PayPal Giving Fund. So the philanthropic part of PayPal that processes billions for charities all over the world. I'm one of the directors there. So, but we recommend people have Stripe because it gives us other payment options as well. Like it's easier for us to do Apple Pay, Google Pay, some of the other, when we're getting into Europe, we get into some of the local payment methods in Europe through Stripe. And they both work really, really well, and they're really low friction for checking out and things like that for everyone. But we recommend they have both, because then the donor has a choice of their preferred trusted way to pay, and it works.
Sure. Do you find, you mentioned, with Apple Pay and Google Pay, are you using then like a Stripe terminal application? Is that, or linking into the vet's point of sale to be able to process?
No. What happens is that, so, well, I don't think so. Just let me clear. So, for example, a campaign page, if we offer both, we'll have a button that says "Pay with PayPal," and then a credit card form, which is handled by Stripe.
Okay.
And then within that area of the credit card form, if Stripe detects that you are on a mobile device, the Google Pay or Apple Pay button might show up. If you are, if they know that you've previously paid with Stripe Link, the link button will show up, which is then just like a couple of clicks and you're done. It's so fast to pay.
Yeah, because they save all your payment information there, and
it's very securely stored. So we're trying to make it so easy for somebody to make a contribution, so that we don't think about that. We don't think of ourselves as a payments platform. We think of ourselves as a marketing platform to help you tell the story of the cause that needs money, get it to a community of people who care about it, and help you then convert that into money. Joe, it's funny. One metaphor that people sometimes go and ask about is, why would anybody want to give to this kind of cause? And we describe it a little bit like this. Crowdfunding is like an ATM on your karma bank. If you've been making deposits of karma into your bank over your life, when you need some money, you can use crowdfunding to make a withdrawal. And that's, because people care about you. Even if it's a cause they don't particularly care about, they care about you. And so that's usually the reason why they give. We just need to wrapper it with some stuff to make it easier for them to justify themselves why they did it. But underlying it all, it's a love platform. We're passing love.
Well, and a love, bringing it back. I nerded out on payments there for a little bit, but it is an integral part of your business, and I know it. So I felt like it was good for us to talk about. So the one thing we haven't touched on that and you mentioned, people love you, but people also love pets, and I think that is the beauty of the model. But there are ways for corporations to get involved in this too, and we talked a little bit about this with the shelter programs, right? I think we see in the industry right now, for a lot of brands, certainly there is a lot of philanthropic goodwill behind it, but they are also huge customer acquisition engines, right? You see the Purina's, Pedigrees, Hills of the world, donating to shelter programs, donating to rescue programs, providing, food, providing, so that they are the food that is being fed in the shelter. And then they send people home with, a coupon to get a bag of that food so that they can keep feeding it at home. And, there's, obviously that philanthropy is needed. Shelters need the food. We need to be taking care of these homeless pets, but there is that ancillary benefit to that philanthropic investment, and that you're probably getting a customer for life if they were eating your food in the shelter, and then you give them a coupon to go get a bag of it when they go home, and the dog or cat likes it. They're gonna probably stay on that food. Once you get a pet parent onto a food, it's a tough thing to switch. When you think about, rotating out and, blending in 10% of a new kibble over, every day over a couple week period, it's not easy.
It's a lot of work. We just went through that actually, but with Butler, my daughter's Mexican rescue pup. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're working with Adopt a Pet, large organization. It's part of the Mars organization through Kinship, and they are sponsoring adoptions of pets all across America, and they're using our technology as a trial program right now to see if they can increase the funding for these adoptions. Now, the goal there is to get some scale of what goes out there so that we can handle more and more of these animals. We already know we're handling thousands of them a year ourselves, but they think that they can bring in, tens of thousands of these animals. And one of the reasons they want to do that is we remember that as Connection Point, we also have fundraiser, and fundraiser works in the philanthropic market. And one of the things we do in philanthropic is that we'll have a major donor that'll give a big gift, and that big gift is then used as matching contributions for a lot of smaller gifts. And so we have technology built into the platform that manages those relationships, the sponsor relationship, and the ability to have it doled out a little bits at a time. One of the things we do in the pet market is we can either have a matching dollar sponsor like that, which works great if you have a local charity that'll support those animals. And vets may end up having a local animal charity be, part of the program there as their angel fund. But we also have the idea of a sponsored incentive. And with a sponsored incentive, a major brand could offer the donor. So the pet parent runs their campaign with a vet, and they're trying to raise money for it. The sponsor could be an insurance company, could be a pets products company, could be a pet food company that would offer a discount coupon or a product sample to the contributor to help inspire them to contribute. Does make more sense if we actually show it?
Yeah, let's take a look.
So this is a mock-up of something that we were doing for Silverpaw, which is a pet products company out of Montreal, who happens to be friends with our product manager, director of product, and a mock-up site that we call Gastown Animal Sanctuary. This is just a same kind of page as you saw with our Sir Gusley and some of the others. But you just see the level of customization that you can do. There's a background image, and you can have really cool photography and the whole bit. But at the top of the page, so if I can find my cursor, that'll help. If I scroll down a little, you'll see it's a regular campaign. We're just describing in this campaign what it does. But what the important point here is that at the top of the page is this sponsorship banner. And this is managed separately from the campaign. So the sponsor can say, hey, look, I like that one. I'll put the sponsorship on. Or it could just be automatically applied to anything from this vet. Anything the vet does, we'll add the sponsorship. So if somebody gives to this
or an animal sanctuary, it wouldn't matter what type of organization, right?
Right. It could be, as long as it's an organization. We're not doing it currently at the personal pet care level. We may end up being able to do that once we got somebody who can validate the causes are correct. So there's because trust is really important in crowdfunding. We want to, part of the reason we did the Pet Funder model and the CocoPay model in personal healthcare was to ensure that the funds were going to where they were supposed to. And so that's one of the reasons why we can do this kind of thing. We can offer this to a brand to say, we know that there's a bunch of really good pet care campaigns here. Would you like to sponsor them? And then through our platform, we can add these sponsorships on. So for the tiny print, for people who can't see it, it says if you make a contribution to the campaign, in this case, we are showing two sides to it, that they would match because they have an angel fund that they'll match, and they'll give you a 50% discount coupon on any of the products in their online store. So if I go to checkout, and this is going to have two concepts that are going to be a little important for some people, and hopefully I won't confuse everybody here. But one of the things we talk about is granting wishes when we're doing pet care, and especially for rescues and animal care organizations. If you can visualize the impact that you're making with your contribution, you're way more willing to give. And this is what part of my TED Talk. So we break up the kind of the cost of one of the bundles of food that they were going to give to one of the animals in the shelter here into a variety of wishes. And that's what you're seeing here. Select the wish. How much do you want to give? So if I give $75 here, I'm going to add that basically to a shopping cart, and I continue. Then this section says, look, Silverpaw will double your contribution. So your value of what you're giving is now twice what you're paying. Plus, they'll give you this special reward. I have a discount coupon, and that gets emailed out to you. So that then you could go to their online store and buy some of their leashes or their clothing or some of their amazing little I love some of the stuff they do for small animals is beautiful. And so you get a discount on that for your contribution, and then you check out as normal. So you're still paying $75, but you're done.
Yeah, and what's cool about that is you would theoretically as a brand then get some one-to-one consumer data with the coupon. And and then that can be used to drive further marketing initiatives, incorporate that person into your email list or whatnot.
And we ask permission from
Yep.
the person who's sponsored. First off, they have to have their email address in order to send them the coupon. But we say,
Right.
hey, would you be willing to do some of this work? And we learned about this kind of model from one of our causes called Ride to Give. Now, Ride to Give was doing this on a personal healthcare side. They were doing bike rides, and that's how they got started on it, and helping families that had children with critical illnesses. They would tell the stories every week about one of the families, and people got addicted to giving. They would end up. We found this out when Katie, the executive director, went on vacation for 2 weeks and didn't publish her story. She had her group all mad at her because they hadn't had their opportunity to give every week. But that group ended up being subscribed into what they called the Ride to Give Army. And the Army was there to just take care of animals, or in this case, it was small, children. They voluntarily joined that group so that they could hear the stories of what was being done every week. And they were willing to give sometimes only $5 a week to help be there. But that $5 of giving was really important. If they'd had discount coupons in that were on top of that, they could have funded purchases of their food for their animal, for the giving that they were doing to take care of another animal. So it's a really interesting kind of ecosystem that develops. We do it with sport teams too, where they give away restaurant coupons. The teams pay for their travel, and then they buy all the food that they're going to eat in the restaurants by buying the coupons, by giving back to their campaign to pay for their travel. It's really kind of an interesting ecosystem of philanthropy as a commercial activity about helping them solve a funding problem by getting a corporation involved that cares enough to be in front of those people.
Right. And it gives that corporation awareness and, builds their brand image. And, and
it's not just
and that's what makes
it's not pinkwashing or greenwashing. They're actually doing something to help here because it works out economically for them to do it.
Right. Right. No, I mean, you see other examples of it. I know when we first chatted, that there's a platform out there called Cuddly that, they facilitate, they do it more on a, they work with brands for them to put up product that you can then buy to donate into specific causes. You can give flat dollar donations too, but it's a little different take. But, at the same time, like here, you're getting a coupon back at the end of the day. And maybe you're getting exposed to a new brand that you wouldn't have otherwise, purchased. And it can be that, initial customer acquisition tool that gets you that lifelong customer. And that's what makes the engine work. Another interesting model I've seen out there is getting celebrities involved and having and I don't know if that's on your roadmap for the future, trying to get people
excuse me,
to unite behind a celebrity.
Yeah, let me show you one who is a dog celebrity. And I didn't tee this up with you. It's funny you mentioned celebrity. So this little pup has a YouTube following of like 100,000 of fans, and they talked about it. Yeah. And they ran a campaign a little while ago because the dog needed some surgery, and it was I think it was based in Canada, and they went down to facility in the States for a specialized surgery. And so what I wanted to quickly show you here is just the power. They used the celebrity of this dog to raise $122,000 for the Cornell fund. And they they just talked about the They updated them on what was going on with the dog and the surgery, and how Cornell University had this group. And off to the side here, you can see what we call the perks or incentives or wishes that, you know, somebody gave to the campaign. They could have one of the t-shirts. And this dog is just hilarious. It's just so well trained, but they've got it and another one, and they have anthropomorphized them so that they got personality, and, you know, kind of human voice type stuff. Funny thing, but they took the power of celebrity and used it, using the platform, to raise $122,000 for a cause, because
Wow.
that pup had gone in and got some surgery, probably $12,000 worth of surgery. But they said, we'll pay for it, but we're going to make sure that you guys get taken care of here because you saved Caruso's life.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
If anybody wants to look at it, this Pet Funder Caruso Fund. If you go to Pet Funder, you can search for it. But the dog itself is really kind of cute. It's a lot of fun, and I understand why he's got so many fans.
You know, he definitely is a handsome looking guy.
Yeah, and well, he knows how to play it to the camera. That's the whole thing. But just off to the side here, just so you can see, this is kind of what it looks like to manage the campaign for anybody. And if we go in, we have you can go into a mode called Visual Editor. Oh, this one's going to be disabled because it stopped. But we could go in and do things like change the story and stuff like that. Excuse me. My granddaughter lives with us, and she's a germ vector for bringing home colds. And so I think mine's attacking me here.
You have done amazingly well so far, and I know we might be pushing your voice at this point of the day, and but Daryl, this has been fantastic, and you know, I'm excited to see. You know, I think there are a lot of potential applications for Pet Funder out there. You know, as we talked about, you know, for vet clinics to be able to offer another payment option for their clients, for the potential for angel funds, so that more emergency surgeries, you know, can be covered, and that they're not snap decisions about a pet's life. You know, I would love to see, you know, organizations like Veterinary Emergency Group and other, you know, large, you know, nationwide emergency animal hospitals, you know, adopting something like that, because, you know, I think we can all relate, you know, when you're in that situation where it's life and death with your pet, you're not necessarily thinking clearly. And, you know, and sadly, you know, until pet insurance becomes more broadly adopted, there is, for most people, always going to be a financial component to decisions that you make about your pet's health. And as we treat them as members of the family, you know, it presents a really difficult situation where people are often, you know, sometimes overcommitting themselves financially to save a pet's life, or having to say goodbye to a member of their family because they can't afford the treatment. And I think the more options and alternatives we can offer to make sure that that's not the case, and that pets get the care that they deserve, you know, as members,
reduce the stress on the vets and hopefully keep them healthy too.
Yes, no, absolutely. I was just going to say that.
How about we go for all of them healthy?
Yeah, and no, I mean, organizations like Not One More Vet, you know, are doing great work in you know, calling attention to that issue. But you know, if we can address the symptoms that are contributing to that overall condition, and I think a big one is the issue of financial euthanasia, which Pet Funder, I think, has a profound ability to be a great solution to hopefully alleviate those cases. It will go a long way, you know, towards not only ensuring, you know, that the pets are taken care of, but that the people who are taking care of them feel appropriately equipped to handle all of the cases that are within their medical capabilities, and that they're not having to pass on treating a potential patient because of financial reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. We're pushing the envelope around innovation around this space because we think that we can bring some bigger solutions to it. It's not just about making it easy to donate. It's about can we get all these players to work together to solve the funding problem? And that's the kind of core of what we're doing. And that's, one of the reasons I think you and I connect is we're looking at this as a much bigger space. How can we do that?
Absolutely. I think where we see, there's opportunities for brands to get involved either through contributions to the angel fund or through, offering, coupons as an incentive to donate and increase product awareness. But at the end of the day, this is an industry, I think, where we're all united around a common goal of making our pets happier and healthier and making the people that they are with happier and healthier as a result. And so, it's a really easy cause to get behind. It's a really easy why. It's why I love working in this space. And, I think the more vehicles we can find to make sure that everyone is experiencing as many positive outcomes as they can, the better off we're all going to be.
Yeah. And so I would love to talk to vets and animal rescues and networks of hospitals. This thing, a network of vet clinics, is actually, we have a level of it called our enterprise level that can make a huge difference for managing this across a whole bunch of clinics, make it really, really easy for them. I'd love to chat with them. They can get in touch with me at Daryl at Connection Point, DARYL at connectionpoint.com. And we'd love to chat. I mean, we can really dive deeply into what the problem. I'm looking for problem solving. So I love conversations with people going, not sure about this, but what about? Those are great. I have those all day long. Those are great because it really is the creativity that I think is going to get us out of this. Creativity and hard work. The hard work of implementing with this stuff and the creativity about just, can we have some courage to try a different approach?
Yeah. And I think, there is a paradigm that has to shift because the cost of veterinary care continues to escalate. Inflation is making it harder for people to afford just about everything. And, at some point, something's got to give because, we can't make it unsustainable for people to be responsible pet owners. We have to, do something to change the paradigm, whether that's pushing broader adoption of pet insurance, making crowdfunding models like this more broadly available, all of the above. But, if we're not giving people the appropriate resources to take care of their pets, we're just going to continue contributing to a system that is functioning, but it is showing signs of breaking down right now. And, whether that be, veterinarians' mental health or financial stability of pet owners, I think your solution has a lot of potential to address those gaps.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I'm so glad we got it together.
Finally got to do it after the.
Yeah, it took a little bit, but a lot of good conversations along the way, and I think it paid off well. So for everybody who's been following along, watching, listening, if you are in need of crowdfunding for your pet, you can log on to PetFund.
Or for your charity.
Or your healthcare with CocoPay. You can log on and use the crowdfunding platform to source for your needs. If you are a vet clinic or a rescue, reach out because this is something that you can add to your overall business model. Provides another for vets. It provides another payment option for your patients. For shelters, this is a great way to both add awareness to the animals in your shelter that need to be adopted, and to also get funds to make sure that you're able to continue to operate and care for your animals in the way that they deserve. So much potential with this. I'm really excited and looking forward to seeing where it goes, and hopefully we can have another chat in the future, Daryl, and you can tell us all about the
success. I love chatting with you. So
all right, well, thank you so much. This has been Peter Kenseth with Pet Working, and Daryl Hatton, CEO of Connection Point. Daryl, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see everyone again soon. Pet Working is presented by Maya Strategy Group, a leading market research and strategy consulting firm, helping clients in the pet care and animal health industries navigate strategic challenges for almost 2 decades.